Alright, so this is... we are... so, thanks to a dedicated fan, we have the story of the SA2 randomizer out here in print, and this is going to be either hilarious or just straight up awful, but I guess there's really no in-between about this sort of thing. So, let's go for it. Let's start from the top. The year is 2001, maybe. Knuckles the Echidna and Shadow the Hedgehog are both running for president. The universal laws of the universe trademark dictates that the one who becomes president must have all 7 Chaos Emeralds, which are currently in space! Knuckles is a candidate and enlists the help of Sonic the Hedgehog and friends, while Shadow is the current president, trying to keep his position and mostly goes it alone. In Station Square, Knuckles beats the shit out of some gun members for no reason, while Amy, who has a massive identity crisis, rescues Sonic from prison. In order to get to space, the Sonic team steal a rocket ship from Eggman after Tails beats the crap out of him. Once getting to space, the team aimlessly wander around the Ark, which is massive enough to house a forest, island, pyramid, and small city in this continuity, for ages without ever really progressing in search to find the emeralds. Amy wanders off on her own and meets the rival presidential candidate, Shadow the Hedgehog. Amy reminds Shadow of Maria, a gem hoarder who blasted Shadow into space at some point prior to the game, so Shadow nopes the fuck out of there. While aimlessly searching, Sonic and Knuckles happen across the Bio-Lizard, but before they can do anything about it, Shadow shows up and kicks its ass to prove he is the better presidential candidate. After the off-screen ass-kicking, Sonic and Shadow decide to go for a run together while talking about random things, like Shadow's TV. While this is happening, Amy happens upon the Ark's vault, which contains 3 of the needed emeralds. At the same time as all this, Rouge the Bat goes rogue against her employer's gun and decides to support Shadow in the presidential race. Meanwhile, Eggman, who's just here because he wants to kill Sonic, stripped of his abilities to go to space after Sonic jacked his rocket, goes with this backup plan, a teleporter he hid in a shitty wet mine, powered by 3 purple gems. Teleporting to the Ark, he is conveniently warped directly where most of the Sonic teams is. He instantly takes Amy hostage and launches Sonic into a space castle set to explode, mostly because Sonic is too much of a dumbass to realize Eggman literally said his entire plan out loud before executing it. Unfortunately for Eggman, Tails somehow rigged the capsule's explosion to be harmless, leaving Sonic alive somehow. Elsewhere in the Ark, Knuckles stumbles upon Chaos and beats the crap out of him for literally no reason. Chaos was just chilling in space, not harming anyone. Then we flash back to yesterday, discovering how Chaos got into space. After escaping the Master Emerald, the military sent out their entire force against him. Luckily, Chaos finds a very convenient warp point into space in the middle of the city, managing to escape literal seconds before the military nuked the entire island. Flashing back to the present, Rouge confronts Knuckles over his murder of Chaos, but doesn't manage to accomplish much as she quickly realizes Knuckles has the upper hand. She screams in frustration and Knuckles leaves. When we catch up with Eggman, who has retreated into the pyramid section of the Ark after his plan to kill Sonic ends in failure, he decides to refocus his efforts from killing Sonic to helping Shadow win the presidential race, locating 2 of the needed emeralds within the Ark. But before he can go collect them, Sonic and other unknown party break into his pyramid base. Shadow, deciding not to help the Doctor, wanders off aimlessly to the forest section of the Ark, where he realizes that Rouge too reminds him of Maria, so he once again decides to forfeit the help of others and goes solo. In the Ark City section, Tails and Amy accidentally reconvene with Knuckles, whom Amy thinks is Eggman for some reason, before Tails speeds off to meet up with Sonic in the Pyramid section. Knuckles and Amy eventually catch up with Tails, meeting up with he and Sonic in the Pyramid base. After this, we flash back again, this time to a few hours ago. Back in the gun base, Rouge still has yet to find her way out, leading to a fight against a hot dog, victory allowing her to escape. Sonic and Shadow's run together has not ended well, leading to Shadow to reveal he tipped the space police off to where Sonic, who is still an escaped convict through this whole thing, is leading to attempting to arrest him. We then discover how Knuckles found Chaos, and how shortly thereafter Rouge found Knuckles. Knuckles was traveling through Cosmic Wall and Rouge was traveling through Eternal Engine. Then for no apparent reason, we flash back to 100 or so years ago to witness Chaos murder a random Echidna clan member. Then we finally go back to the present. Infinite from Sonic Forces breaks into SA2 in an attempt to prove he's a great villain, but ends up accomplishing nothing, with none of the other characters even realize he showed up. We then meet the third group, Metal Sonic's team, who have absolutely nothing to do with the presidential race and just want to break Eggman's ship. Metal infiltrates the pyramid as Eggman is distracted by Sonic's team and destroys the majority of its defenses. He then gets sidetracked by a bizarre fever dream where he becomes Movie Sonic and raises a terrifying monster of a Chow. After expelling Movie Sonic from his mind, Metal wakes up in the forest section of the arc, completely lost. Meanwhile, Silver Sonic, the other member of Metal's team, destroys Eggman's remaining defenses, including the Egg Golem. We then flash back again, this time, to how Eggman met President Shadow. Eggman woke him up from a nap thinking his capsule was something important, and then Shadow fucks off to Pumpkin Hill. Meanwhile, back in the present, the third member of Metal's team, a random Chow with a gun, re-destroys the Egg Golem after it gets back up. Rouge, having no idea what to do now, has been fucking around in mad space, accomplishing literally nothing for several hours.
A place that's not small.
Oh, fuck, the game just crashed. Another new party infiltrates the arc as Espio the Chameleon, disguised as Sonic, begins hunting down Shadow. He encounters Shadow in the city section of the arc, but Shadow teleports away, busy trying to find a control room. Finally getting out of mad space, Rouge has tracked Knuckles down to the pyramid section of the arc, and the two engaged in more petty bickering. During the bickering, Eggman shows up and claims this will be the last episode while attempting to take off with the Master Emerald, though Knuckles smashes it before it can. Engaged in more petty bickering and cursing between all parties. Back in the forest section of the arc, Espio sheds his disguise and finally properly confronts Shadow, but is killed within seconds, leaving one to wonder what the point of his subplot even was. Repairing the thing in record time, Knuckles decides to try and use the Master Emerald's power to grant him presidential status without using the 7 Chaos Emeralds. With Shadow on his tail, he returns to the Bio-Lizard's cave with Sonic, but before the Master Emerald can give a victor, the Bio-Lizard suddenly reappears and steals the presidential status for himself, the dick. It quickly teleports away, forcing Knuckles' plan B and C to be enacted at the same time. Tails is left both attempting to find the remaining Chaos Emeralds and the Bio-Lizard in Meteor Herd, predictably failing. After a random flashback to just before Sonic Adventure 1 of Chaos and Tikal fighting, we see that Sonic's team has become discouraged by the lack of recent success in the presidential campaign. Not even beating the shit out of Eggman again boosts Tails' confidence. The pity party is cut short, however, as the Ark's laser cannon suddenly begins to ignite and just as quickly explode. Looking out into space, Tails witnesses that Sonic has begun to destroy the Ark, probably out of frustration with the story going nowhere, and that was just the hero's side of the story. Jesus Christ. Kicking off the Dark Side story, we meet back up with Metal, who is currently trying to find his way back to Silver Sonic and company. Unfortunately, he bumps into Amy, who kicks the shit out of him. In revenge, Metal attempts to destroy Johnny's stream by crashing the game. Metal's like, oh, the game just fucking crashed. After being jailed yet again for trying to destroy the Ark, Sonic once again needs rescue via Amy. Tails takes the longest possible route to come pick them up, also briefly falling into a black hole and encountering a clone. Eggman tries to convince Shadow to let him help with the presidential campaign, but all he accomplishes is pissing Shadow off. Meanwhile, back in the desert, Knuckles and Rouge are arguing again. Eggman once again shows up to try and steal the Master Emerald, but Knuckles just shatters the thing again, leaving everyone feeling very awkward. Shadow randomly comes across Sonic again and immediately calls the cops on him again. The Chow from Metal Sonic's team decides to reenact the Blue Chow supremacy while Knuckles hallucinated about BDSM Rouge. The Sonic team reunites in Eggman's base but finds the doors locked, so Knuckles tries to find the keys to enter. Instead, he finds another 2 emeralds, leaving them with 5 of the 7 needed to become president. Unfortunately, he blacks out before he can find the 3rd. Oh, damn. I guess we're never gonna find out what's behind the safe. The game just fucking crashed again, goddammit. Meanwhile, the Dark Child decides to train by beating the shit out of the Egg Golem, making his the 3rd time the thing has been kicked to shit. Rouge, in the meantime, has attempted to steal the Master Emerald, only to find out the thing has a damn failsafe to call. It's on. Tails, meanwhile, is still driving back to pick up Sonic after having switched cars. Eggman goes to find the emeralds he detected earlier, but comes up empty-handed. Knux got them. He does, however, find the control room that Shadow was looking for. Eggman talks to his granddad while everyone else has another argument, before eventually moving to Eggman's granddad's argument with everyone. They settle it in a game of Mario Kart. During this, Silver Sonic is wrecking more shit trying to find metal. Speaking of metal, he's even more off track than when we last saw him, and has somehow stumbled into an ocean. While in space, work that one out. Then for some reason, we decide to revisit the Chaos vs. Random Echidna Tribe member subplot from forever ago, flashing back 100 years to discover how that one random Echidna Tribe member found Chaos. We then flash forward to the actual plot to discover metal has blown up the ocean section of the Ark. Amy randomly finds Shadow again, which causes Shadow to flash back to Maria again. However, he remembers the events differently suddenly, now remembering Maria as a heroic being who wielded the 7 Chaos Emeralds. I don't remember that at all. When the hell did we get to that plot twist? Tails finally catches up to Amy, revealing to her that the Ark is set to explode at any moment thanks to the damage Sonic had previously caused and the damage Metal had recently caused. Eggman reaches the destination of one of the emeralds, only to discover Shadow beat him to the punch. Having enough of this shit, Eggman decides to just try killing Sonic again, using the exact same plan as last time. Thankfully, Sonic is still a massive dumbass and actually falls for it, seeming to actually fucking die. We then catch up back with Infinite, who has gotten so lost he somehow ended up underground in a mine on Earth, where he drowns. The poor fuck. Meanwhile, the Dark Chow is hunting for the other Chow in Cosmic Wall. Yeah, F for Infinite, by the way. Infinite's just fucking dead. That's where he goes. Eggman, feeling victory in this seemingly finally killing Sonic, retreats back to his pyramid base where he and Shadow discusses nothing. Shadow then leaves and goes to a random city where he suddenly remembers more about Maria. She was Oma Chow the whole time. Dun dun dun! Rouge and Knuckles are arguing about nothing again. This has basically become the entirety of their characters by this point. Eggman and Shadow once again discuss basically nothing until Eggman teleports out. Got bored. Rouge then walks in and looks through Eggman's internet history while Shadow wanders through the forest section while thinking of Rouge again. The Dark Chow continues its rampage, brutalizing Tails. Shadow decides to go for a drive, but ends up crashing. Infinite, meanwhile, has somehow found his way back to the Ark and is still trying to prove he's a good villain. He takes on the Bio-Lizard and beats it, in turn accidentally becoming president because Bio-Lizard stole that title at the end of the hero side. However, because no one actually really realizes he exists, the title of presidency is now up for grabs. Rouge and Knuckles argue about more nothing again. Eggman breaks into the depths of Ark to try and get the 7th Chaos Emerald. Amy, distraught at Sonic's apparent death, goes insane and rampages through the forest, and Tails simply wanders around the desert. Eventually, Tails stumbles across Eggman and decides to take revenge, beating the shit out of him. Hearing about the apparent death of Sonic, Silver Sonic decides to take his place after being unable to find metal, despite searching for hours. We then randomly cut to the filming of Chow in space. Then we finally meet back with Metal, who survived the encounter with Amy in the jungle, and decides to take revenge. He finds Amy on the outskirts of the Ark and beats the shit out of her, leaving her for dead. Then the greatest reveal happens. Eggman has somehow attained all 7 Chaos Emeralds. He takes the role of president for himself, ensuring the eventual rise of the Eggman Empire. However, there's still a problem. The Ark has become unstable, and the Bio-Lizard remains alive somehow. And with that, we have reached our final chapter. Last story. Alright, grieving Sonic's death, Tails has retreated back to Earth and has begun to go feral in a mine. However, his victory of finding the 3 gems only to reveal that Tails was never real to begin with. Back in space, Chaos is randomly revived and takes his revenge on Knuckles. Amy, still insane, is attempting to destroy the entire Ark. Rouge, not having anything better to do, decides to help her. Eggman, celebrating his new presidency, has decided to flood the Ark to prevent any of his competition from possibly taking the title. Chaos, meanwhile, is just kind of chilling out in one of the newly flooded sections, celebrating his victory over Knuckles. Shadow is attempting to escape the Ark, but his progress is halted when the Bio-Lizard suddenly shows up and attempts to stop his escape. Shadow, not having time for this bullshit, just brutalizes the thing without much of a sweat. Unfortunately, the Bio-Lizard teleports away and merges with the Ark and tries to crash it into Earth. Then the final plot twist happens. Sonic survived being exploded into space. He successfully managed to teleport out of the capsule, except he ended up back in jail. Specifically, a jail all the way in Argentina. After finally managing to escape and hijack a NASA rocket to space, he reunites with Amy and Tails And he and Shadow put aside their differences and go and defeat the final hazard, finally putting the thing down for good. The two hedgehogs prevent the Ark from crashing to save the world. However, President Shadow used up all his remaining power to do so, falling into orbit. The rest of the cast reunite and criticize Sonic for showing up late, before they all awkwardly make up and then leave. The Ark seems fine, but the Ark seems to be fine and no longer falling apart despite the copious amounts of damage done to it. The clusterfuck of a story comes to end with Sonic setting up a meeting, presumably to finally deal with an even bigger clusterfuck that is the rules of how the fuck people became president in this universe. We fade out with an image of former President Shadow, who will always be in our memory. But what became of our cast of misfits? Okay, Sonic was quickly arrested after getting back to Earth, earning another 12 life sentences to his prison sentence with no chance of parole. Fuck. Tails never existed. You imagined him. We made him up. Knuckles fell into a depression after losing his presidential campaign, becoming a heavy drinker. He was eventually arrested for his multiple random assaults of various people over the course of the story. Amy continues to try and get Sonic out of jail, but isn't very good at it. Eggman managed to retain his presidential title and is currently building up his Eggman empire. Rouge somehow managed to get her job with Gun back and is currently living a successful life. Contrast with basically everyone except Eggman and Chaos. Chaos continues to chill in the flooded sections of the Ark, living his best life. Infinite never managed to prove to anybody that he was a decent villain and simply teleported back to Forces, where he had something resembling a point. Metal and Silver Sonic eventually reunite and are attempting to undermine Eggman even as he rises in power. The Chow start a race war. And finally, President Shadow's Ghost continues to watch over the world, showing an increasing amount of disappointment with the direction everything is going. And that is the end of our SA2 Randomizer dramatic reading. That was fantastic. Got to give a big shout. I hope did they sign their work? Oh god, they didn't sign their work. Because I know who's the name of the person that made this? Because I know we ran into them at the end of like the first SA2 randomizer stream, and I bookmarked it, but they didn't sign the name. I'm trying to think. Is there a name here? Oh shit! Yeah, you should always sign your work. I want to get proper credit for the person who wrote this. This was funny. Fucking, I almost felt bad for Infinite. I think one of the fair parts is by the end of it is Amy continues to try and get Sonic to jail and isn't very good at it. I don't know why I thought that was so funny. Anyway, okay, that was our dramatic reading of the SA2 randomizer. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I certainly as hell did. That was really fun.